Hello and welcome. Today we've got Dr. Diane Kazer, and today we are going to be discussing how the deep state are using poisonous chemicals to go into your body, affect your hormones, and affect how to confuse your gender. If you want to be a man, if you want to be a woman, if you want to, and this is what they're doing to our children. And now we're going to look into these poisons and how they're trying to get it into our bodies and the studies that have been spoken about it on other alternative media. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my daily news reels. Dr. Diane Kazer, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Oh, I love this conversation. Hi, Nick. Hi, everybody. Good to see you again. Good to be with you. How have I been? Well, I'll share one celebration in the local town I just moved to because there is no 5G. We just recently fought for the fourth time to overturn the implementation of 5G again, the installation of 5G again, and we won. So that's really neat to see this, the locals come together, uniting and saying no to faster cell service, which is not really what it is, but maybe better cell service, sure. Saying no to that and saying yes to nature, humanity, and keeping our brains and keeping our bodies intact. So that was really cool to see it. What can happen when we come together, because the power is truly in us.
Absolutely. And this is it. So we have to now take that power back. So what did you find about the 5Gs? What's going on there?
Yeah, like what is it as far as why it's so harmful to humanity?
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a documentary that Sasha Stone, one of my friends, made called 5G Apocalypse. And while that might sound a bit extreme, I actually became one of the first certified practitioners to learn the implications that EMFs cause to the body. And when I learned that about 6 years ago, it shifted my mission as a naturopathic doctor and detox expert. I went, this is one of the biggest toxins that we have. I mean, it literally does increase our confusion in our body, destroys our mitochondria, our body's ability to communicate to cell signaling. So our brain talking to our endocrine glands. Hello, gender confusion. Our cells communicating to our organs to say, hey, let's heal the body and let's regenerate these tissues so that we don't get cancer and we do have healthy brain function and we can lose weight and we can fight off the toxins and parasites that cause autoimmune disease. When we have this disruption, it literally paralyzes the body's ability to cleanse itself, to go through the regenerative factors that create kind of a resurrection every day, kind of to use a Jesus term, because it was just Easter. Every day we're recreating ourselves through our cells. And when we can't do that, our body is one step closer to illness and death and dysfunction. And that sends us into this desperate attempt to fix it because we don't know what else to do. And we do what we're programmed to do, which is go talk to the doctor. And they give more pills, they give more poisons, radiation, scans, and we leave there going, oh, another test. We don't know what's going on with us. I hope it's not cancer. So that's what we're here to talk about today is how to take your power back and learning what truly does cause disease. And 5G is a big part of the weapons expert, their role to track us, to trace us, to locate us, to turn switches on, to create more anger and division within our field, and then within the field of humanity and our own little units of counties and then cities and then states. And we wonder what's going on. It's really these wearables, these AirPods, these Apple Watches. These are truly the greatest things that are destroying our health and causing confusion and anger.
It's amazing how far in technology we've come to, and now the bad guys are using it to destroy what God has created. They don't like Christianity, and this is why Joe Biden has made Easter Day transgender visibility. And like Trump says, we need Christianity visibility, and this is mocking Christianity. This is what they want to do: make Christianity look like a joke. And again, with this transgender movement, it all goes into the direction of depopulation. It's one of their tactics of making you not want to breed, making you want to stay single, not wanting you to have family, and even changing your sex or not wanting the opposite sex as your partner. So let's You mentioned Alex Jones also mentioned about how there's chemicals that were shown in a study on frogs where they were turning the frogs, they were confusing the frogs' gender identity and what their preferences were. And this is the ability that the deep state have. And I believe when they do this research, cancer research, donations to charities, I believe that these massive corporations that the government owns, they take this money, and this is where the research is going. How can we manipulate and confuse the people's preferences in what they want in their sexuality so that we can make them stop breeding, so we could control the population better? What are your thoughts?
Yes. So, as we've heard our whole life, Satan is the enemy of humanity through the use of confusion, right? So anytime you feel like you are not solid, you're not crystal clear, you are not absolutely aware and grounded in who you are and what your connection is to your creator, to God, you are in a state of confusion. And yes, these toxins that I'm going to talk about today, these poisons, these parasites, they have been engineered to create confusion within ourselves, to create division within our cells. So think about it when you're at a concert and there's so many people there and you can't text the person next to you because there's not enough bandwidth, right? That is what happens within your body when your cells can't communicate. Your brain can't communicate from your organs to say there's something going on down here in order to trigger some sort of a painful response that your body goes, I need to go do something about this pain instead of numbing it out or cutting it out. That is that allopathic approach. That's deep state. That's Rockefeller medicine. That is completely going obsolete, kind of like pagers did, back in the 80s because we started to have Blackberries and was that the 80s and the 90s? Anyway, you know what I mean? So the evolution of greater communication has been our devolution of internal cellular communication. As technology has evolved, we have internally cellularly devolved. So I'm not saying that we can't have one or the other. I'm saying that it's not black and white, it's somewhere in the middle. Because the deep state wants it to be black and white, wants it to be polarity, wants it to be confusing and dividing, when really the truth is somewhere in the middle in the gray area. However, this is not gray to me. I was talking about this, this image, and I'm sure you guys know what Nick was talking about here. Joe Biden declares Easter Sunday Transgender Day of Disability. I mean, his face, it's such a mockery of Christ and Christ consciousness within. It's such a mockery. I looked at that and I just laughed and I went, really? Okay, so what's going on here? How did we get to this point of transgenderism, confusion, aggression? I want you all to know that this is not something that's just within somebody who is wanting to change their sex. It's not just somebody who is homosexual. It's in part, by and large, in all of us. It's just what is creating this weakest link that creates illness. So toxicity is the number one thing that causes all disease. We can make disease and illness and dysfunction and disorder. We can make that really, really simple by saying one thing. There's one disease, multiple diagnoses, multiple symptoms, multiple illnesses, multiple dysfunction, but there's one disease, and that is toxicity. That's it. And what Nick just asked me is, well, what is this toxicity that we're talking about with Alex Jones? I was just on InfoWars last week. Well, what is this? Why is atrazine causing the frog skin? What is atrazine? So atrazine is a pesticide that came in to sort of start to take over the herbicide known as glyphosate, that because we came together and we started using the instruments, which are our voices, which is the sound healing vibration that heals us within. We are miracles. God gave us everything we needed inside this beautiful vessel to heal ourselves. We just have to know how to remove the things that are blocking us from healing. And that's Satan. Satan is the poisons and the parasites that are creating this dysfunction within. And so that's why I'm always talking about, let's remove the blockers inside of our temple that are preventing us to heal. And let's add in the builders that help to recreate healing within ourselves. And that is how simple the foundations can be laid. Now, atrazine and herbicides like glyphosate, have been invented and created. They're in a plant, a mockery of God's plants. Like God's plants have been designed to help us heal. The fiber structure, the chlorophyll, all of the things that help the chlorophyll and spirulina and all of those things create these little antennas within us that bring in the healing energy of the sun. And we talk about the Son, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, without going too far into religion or how we look at Christianity. This is all saying nature can heal us and Satan can kill us. So atrazine, mercury is what I want to show you right now, Nick. Any comments on that before I show the study, though?
Oh no, please do. I'm very interested to hear all of this, because this is all new to me, and I just love learning. This is part of what I love to do, is interview people and learn.
Yeah, thank you. And it's all about also unlearning, right? Because the unlearning is what we have become programmed with in school, indoctrinated in our upbringing. That's the unlearning that we're here to do. The learning that we're here to do is, okay, what do we do instead? So I want to show this first. Atrazine is one of them. The herbicide known as glyphosate is another one. These are what's called endocrine disruptors. They're called xenoestrogens. They look like estrogen to the body. They're a mockery. They are the confusion state, right? So if we looked at poisons and parasites like Satan and God, then we can start to understand this at a very deep level, and it becomes very simple, right? Stop doing those things and start doing these things. Stop injecting these things. Start injecting these things in terms of food and medicinal herbs in the body that can help heal you, right? So let's look at this for a minute. And this is a study that was done quite some time ago too. We're looking at the endocrine disruptive effects of mercury. This was 24 years ago in 2000, and you can pull these up anytime. Whenever you see the term, you guys, endocrine disruptors, the study of endocrinology is our hormones. What do hormones do? They decide what is made within you. They're communication centers, they're communicators. They dictate your sex, stress, and sleep hormones, our oxytocin levels, love hormones. They determine all of that.
Mhm.
And your hormones also determine what your brain perceives, what gender you are, and what gender you want to be with, and whether or not you want to procreate, or if you want to use CRISPR technology and artificially recreate a baby in a lab, which I'm totally against. I'm going to stand on that polarity soapbox and say there's a very slippery slope from IV therapy, IVF, and going towards CRISPR transhumanism. The reason why people can't get pregnant and they're confused about their gender and they're slicing their temples, their reproductive glands open is because of these toxins like this right here. So today we're here to talk a bit about and really shake out the whole oral toxicity. The IVs that we're taught to just accept that any dentist should just be able to vampirically insert into our gums so that they can remove a cavity, like or rectify a cavity with silver filling. So mercury, where do we get exposed to this? In our mouth. Okay. Shaking this study out, mercury identified thousands of years ago as one of the oldest toxicants known. The endocrine disruptive effects of mercury have recently become one of the major public concerns. Recently, that was 2000. We still haven't even gotten this down, Nick. I'm hoping to with shows like yours and hoping you guys take this and spread this out like wildfire. Humans are waking up fast. And it's because of shows like yours, Nick, that we're making headway. People, wait a second, how come I've never heard this before? Well, because, who owns the news? Mostly the Rockefellers. It's like 5 big news stations that have been projecting this stuff out there. But now we're seeing that less than 1 million views on Fox News, and there's more people watching Nick. Thank you. Yay. So let's get this out there. In this report, the adverse effects of mercury on the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenal gland, and gonads, aka testes and ovary, in laboratory animals as well as in humans are reviewed. The effects of both environmental and occupational exposures to organic, inorganic, or metallic mercury are explained. There is sufficient evidence from animal studies supporting the disruptive effects of mercurials, basically toxicants that are mercury, on the functions of the thyroid, adrenal, ovary, and testes, although several factors make it difficult to extrapolate the animal data to the human situation. But this is the best we've got for studies, because Rockefellerian medicine is not doing any of this, which is to say allopathic medicine, which is to say all prescriptions are the end all be all, or just take a drug or injectable or have something inserted and installed inside of you as far as a surgical instrument. What they've looked at for human studies performed so far, they focused mainly on serum hormone levels, failed to provide any conclusive data to confirm the findings from the animal studies. Therefore, so basically what this is saying is that mercury has an impact, a hormonal impact on the pituitary, thyroid, adrenal gland. Those live in our brain, and the ovary and testes live in our reproductive organs. So what this is, and if we're breaking this down from a scientific term to a biological term, is that we have toxins like mercury and the ones I mentioned earlier, atrazine, and Roundup. Roundup, even if you're eating organic, and let's just say GMO free, but you're spraying your lawns or living next to people who are using Roundup, which is an herbicide, and that is Agent Orange. Those are the things that are making us sick. So I see people who are also living next door to neighbors who are using Roundup. They're spraying their lawns with it to kill the weeds, but those things are also killing us, or they're converting our genders. They're confusing our genders.
That's crazy. And it's probably in protein shakes as well within the gym industry, all this alternative food and getting the protein in your body very quickly, supplements, all these excuses and why you should buy these supplements. It's always a window for them to just quickly, sneak those chemicals in there. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good point, Nick. And I'm the right person to ask too, because I was in the bodybuilding industry. I was a bikini competitor. I was a national level figure competitor, which is basically kind of muscle bikini fitness. And if you looked at my back then, my pantry, it was all bodybuilding supplements. But then I quickly learned that the pathway to air quotes lose weight or build muscle would actually break our metabolism. And when you're breaking your metabolism, you're breaking your insulin levels. And when you're breaking your insulin use in the body, then you're in a state of, I can never lose weight, but I'm going to be constantly hungry. And people are now using other injectables like Wegovy. And these are the things that are how people are losing weight by injecting needles inside of them, or Ozempic, which are deadly, deadly solutions. And they're not solutions, they're pollutions.
Mm.
So there's a ton of heavy metals in a lot of these whey protein shakes, or things that promise you to build muscle, amino acids. The big brands that you see at GNC are generally what I say are not for me. So it rhymes, must mean it's true. I could go down a big rabbit hole on that. But they did a study a long time ago on a lot of the top protein shake companies, a lot of the bodybuilding companies, and most of them were more toxic than their labels made out to be. So it's greenwashing. Greenwashing is when you see a label that says, lose 25% more weight drinking this shake. When we don't look beyond the surface, that is another satanic thing, another satanic looshing effect. You see the promise, but you don't question the validity. So I'm here to question the validity. And I've been in this industry for 15 years, since 2009, when I started bodybuilding, but we find tons of arsenic, tons of heavy metals, tons of trace concentrations of mercury and aluminum. And these things end up in the brain. They're causing confusion. They're causing also schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, dementia. Literally, we're forgetting our memory of who we are. And if we're forgetting who we are, which is what Ozempic has done, what also we've been finding in the weapons of the shots, it's wiping people's hypothalamus out and hippocampus out. Those are the things that regulate endocrine energy in the body, hormone use in the body, hormone communication centers in the body. Hormones are also firefighters. They're there to put out the fires of inflammation in the body. And so if we cannot create our own cortisol, we're exhausted, we can't lose weight, we're inflamed, we're depressed. We can't get rid of the inflammation that is creating confusion and also causing weight gain. Our body starts to gain weight when it can't let go of and detox toxins. And then it starts to expand in our waistline. It starts to expand in the lymphatic centers. So if we're not focusing on where are these chemicals, toxins coming from, and reducing those, stopping those and increasing and replacing the unhealthy things with healthier versions, then a detox is not really going to do much because we're adding more poisons in.
Yeah.
So if you look at, yeah, go ahead, Nick.
No, 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 please.
So the beyond just mercury, we've got the main ones that create confusion. And you might have a few gay listeners. I've got gays as friends, and they absolutely hate the transgender movement. So good on you guys. But I say there's a funny term, and it's the way that you can remember. People joke around. I can't say the word because people might get triggered by it. But on a movie, they might say, "Oh, you're a fag," right? And they're like, "Haha." But that term FAG, it just spells something. I like to be funny and mnemonic with things. It's fluoride and aluminum and glyphosate are the three things that once those poisons get into your brain, they're actually causing a lot of gender confusion. And they're one of the things that when you have brain confusion, you have
Mhm.
body confusion, whether it's your gender or it's your organs, your body's ability to communicate within each other. And then now you add to that mercury and graphene oxide. So that's five. Those things get up into the brain, they're hard to get out, and it's autoimmune disease. We have 25% at this point, probably 30% of women who are on a thyroid medication and they're taking Synthroid. And these very medications are the same ones that are creating the same symptoms that you go in there to get a medication for. So it's really at this point, when we look at Rockefeller medicine, it's one and the same. It's the same injections that they're using for dental anesthetics have the same technology now as the bioweapon, which has been masquerading as a vaccine to help to prevent the virus spread, when really what spreads is poisons and parasites and propaganda and programming of how we should think. That's what spreads. And that's what we need to stop the spread of. And so I want to dive deeper into that a little bit more about dental anesthetics too, Nick.
This is what I wanted to say. Is I want to get into the dental implants as well, and the anesthetics and the poisons, with that. And I also wanted to mention as well that I watched an interview on Joe Rogan between, Joe Rogan and Robert Kennedy Jr. And he also confirmed that the deep state are using poisons to, confuse us about what we want sexually and to confuse our genders. As part of the depopulation, he was also referring to this the study they made with frogs. They were straight frogs. They poisoned them, and eventually, over time, they started going for the opposite sex. Now, they're actually forcefully manipulating what we want by poisoning us. Why? Without letting us decide naturally by how God intended us to be naturally. So there's an agenda here. And the point of this is that they want to depopulate the world because they want to control us easier. When the smaller the people are, the smaller the number, the easier it is for them to control. And that's really what it is. But please, let's go into the dental implants and anesthesia, and let's talk about how can we get rid of this, and what is it? What programs should we be looking at to detox our bodies?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. And don't let me forget, I've got 4 links pulled up to talk about the parasitic connection too, to gender confusion. And when we have gender confusion, we are not populating, like you said, and it's easier to control a smaller population. Georgia Guidestones. So, there's a lot of history here that we've been following, obviously, to get to this point of understanding what they're trying to do. So let me open up this image here. This is something that happened to me, and I want you all to be aware of the possibility of toxicity when you go in for even just as much of a dental cleaning. Now they're using a lot of dental anesthetics just to simply clean, and because people we have a bigger aversion to pain. We are programmed to have a greater desire for comfort and pleasure. And so they're like, oh, well, we'll put you to sleep just to do a teeth cleaning, or I'm afraid of dentists. Okay. Instead of going, why are you afraid of dentists? Let's figure this out. Let's not be afraid of dentists. And let's actually use dentists that have been trained by Weston A. Price, that are holistic dentistry, that are biological dentistry. And I have a solution for you guys to dive deeper into this. I've spent months, years, decades creating this one page that I put on your page today. We'll talk about, Nick, so you guys can go deeper into finding solutions. So for me, 2 years ago, I had a dental implant put in. I air quotes didn't have a choice because I already had a titanium implant in my front tooth. Years ago, I had an injury, and I've had and played professional soccer. Got my face beaten a lot with cleats and soccer balls, and eventually lost a tooth. Had a root canal put in. I'm here to tell you guys today: root canals should not be in anybody's jaw. Nobody's. It is dead tissue. It needs to be removed and replaced with either a healthy either ceramic or a another implant like a you got to talk to your biological dentist about which ones that they have. But there's different types that are not titanium. And the specific one that I would have had if I could have, because I already had one installed, was either a ceramic. This one is it kind of breaks a bit over time. You might have to have another one put in, or you can have a zirconia one. Those two are ones that are safer because they are non-metal, but they do tend to be a little bit more sensitive. They a little bit more breakable. So I just want to put that out there because you're going to hear a dentist say, no, you should never use that. You should only use titanium. But I want to talk about why that's not so today. So the other thing is when they go to put an implant in, or when they go do a removal of your silver fillings, which hopefully nobody in this audience and it has silver fillings, but if you do, we have got to get those out too. There's a lot of work that we have to do in the mouth. And it is not doing more toxins. It's not falling down the rabbit hole of more silver fillings, more root canals. It's going the opposite direction. So what I did is what I had this titanium implant put in next to the other one. They said that I needed to because I'd opted to have a root canal removed 4 years ago. And then a couple of years later, I was able to put an implant in. They told me the only thing that you could do is a titanium implant because I had one that was in my jawbone for so long that they couldn't remove it because it was all the way basically inserted into my skull. And if they pulled that out, I would lose a lot of my jaw and the front on the top. So, well, who wants to be basically toothless in the front? So I want you to learn from me. If you can opt to not have a titanium implant put into your jaw, use a ceramic or a zirconia. And when they're doing this procedure, or even if you don't get implants put in, if you're just doing a cleaning, or if they're removing silver fillings or fixing a cavity, they're needing, air quotes, needing to use dental anesthetics. What La Quinta Columna has been finding, and the work of Dr. Anna McCulchy and Dr. David Nixon, you can see that list in the bottom, um, follow their Substacks because they're looking in dark field microscopy to see what is actually contained in these injections. We've already kind of woken up from and fought off this whole gaslighting of we need to get more bioweapons in the form of vaccines because of the next virus to fear, but also look at the other things that they're injecting inside of us. This is still vampiric. When we look at it, it's still snake venom appearing. So what else are they injecting? Is it the same stuff? What we found is the answer is yes. So in dental anesthetics, they've been finding the same graphene oxide, the same hydrogel, the same weaponry system, DARPA gel, that is allowing these fake toxins that are created in a lab to turn us into the transhumanistic robots that they want to put into the meta. And while that sounds really confusing and scary, it is actually happening. So if we've opted out of the vaccine, then they're going to get us another way. And they're wanting to use this in other forms by, again, Satan is the enemy of clarity and the propaganda of confusion. So if they can put these injections inside of us, then we become these safe to easy to control with the 5G weapon system. And we've done so much research on this. It's a connection point. It's not just 5G. It's not just graphene oxide. It's not just mercury. It's not just the parasites. It's how they all play together in this strange metaverse so that we lose our ability to think for ourselves. We lose our connection to God, and we become easier to control and track using Apple Watches, wearables, AirPods, earpods, constantly being surveilled with keeping your Wi-Fi on at night. Turn it off, you guys. Turn it off at night. Drive a Tesla because it's easier for them to track us. This is a slippery slope, and this is how it begins. I know I'm kind of going off over here in left field. However, it's not, because the slippery slope toward it is allowing them to inject things like levobupivacaine. There's levobupivacaine is the only one that we have found so far that is safe. Mepivacaine, articaine, lidocaine, turbocaine, a lot of these things that they're using to numb our bodies have the same technology in it than the shots did that are causing people to clot out, to have seizures in the streets. We've seen it all, to die suddenly. So Nick, I'll stop here because I want to make sure that this is very clear to your audience. And if there's anything that's not, let's make it clear. Levobupivacaine is the only one that is safe currently in dental anesthetics.
You've made it very clear. It's very interesting. So, okay, so what can we have instead of anesthetic? How about that gel they put where they numb it? Where it was? What do you think that's about?
It's a great question. So a lot of my listeners have been very smart and we're starting to come together and ask questions. So if you guys are out there listening, that question that Nick just asked are questions I want you to start asking. Okay, what can we do instead? So first of all, levobupivacaine, as we know so far, is harder to find in America. There is a clinic down in Mexico, the north of Mexico. So it's close to San Diego. You can fly to San Diego. They pick you up, bring you across the border. They're named American Biological Dentistry Clinic. They're actually the ones that are taking this stuff seriously. They're looking into the microscope to see what things that are in the injectables that they're using in the clinic. I put all that in the link I'll share with you guys in a little bit so you can reach out to them if you want to. There's also, and we don't know the answer to this yet, Nick. We don't know what
Yeah,
things topically can people use. So we're starting to ask these questions. And the more we're getting answers, the more I'm coming onto shows like this. And the more I'm going to be adding to this one library of pages I'm going to be sharing with your audience that has questions about, because there's going to be more questions about, well, what about these types of fillings? What about molars? And what about wisdom teeth? Because there's more and more questions about dentistry that I have for you, but we don't have time for the show today. So I'll give you guys resources to dive deeper. Right now, there's a lot of people who are just using things like clove, essential oil, things that we've had for thousands of years as herbal remedies that when we're using clove just so happens to be one of the number one parasite killers in nature. Cool.
that's very
So
cool.
yeah, and it gets rid of the eggs, the life cycle of parasites. And parasites are the other enemy of confusion that I wanted to talk about as well today.
I want to
So
I want to
yeah,
ask you this about parasites. Actually, now let's say you got the deep state are trying to poison us with parasites. Then you get a percentage of people who are affected with their gender confusion. Now, are you saying that there's a way that if you were to, can this be reversed?
mhm,
So
yes, it
they
can.
can, so that they will end up not being confused and they will go back to what they originally were.
Yes,
Okay.
good question. So I'll show you a couple articles and we'll start getting into the solution. So you guys, this is what I was just showing with mercury. This is what Nick was just asking about parasitology. There's one parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. You may have heard of that because it's the air quotes cat lady, cat parasites. There's a reason why the cat lady wants more and more cats because it's the parasite that's text messaging her brain to say, go get more cats. So the parasite within the cats can replicate within the human. It's really wild. This is the real, true biological mind control is parasites. They were around even before Rockefeller came around and started doing this. But I really, truly believe that in the Bible, when the Bible talks about the snakes, they're talking about the parasite. That is what I truly believe. The serpent was the actual parasite. And I believe that snakes can be medicinal in nature, but they also can be dark in nature. So we got to get these parasites out. Toxoplasma gondii is not just the cat parasite. We're exposed to it in water, in food, in the air, but mostly in water and handling feces. And also, it's interesting when we think about this, it's kind of gross, but what do homosexuals like? Is they like kind of, if you look at the butt conversation, right? That's where there's the greatest amount of parasites. They don't have sex normally. They have it in another area of the body. You guys follow me, right? It's kind of gross, but it starts to make sense when you really start to understand that parasites are the key driver of the decisions that we make. Then we go, how do we undo this mind control? We do a parasite cleanse and we live that lifestyle to reduce parasite exposure. Okay. That is really, truly what COVID really is the Trypanosoma cruzi parasite that they injected inside of people with the shots, right? This is clear clear as day. I've been studying parasitology for 15 years, schizophrenia, suicide, workplace accidents, the desire to have sex with the opposite sex, the confusion, all of this is Toxoplasma gondii. Aggression, we're seeing anger, aggression, well, we might not know really who's doing the shootings and everything, who's running themselves into bridges. I believe all of this stuff is designed to create division within us. So all of these, you guys, studies after studies, anger, depression, impulsivity. We got people doing OnlyFans, not wanting to have sex with people and connect with them in person, doing it in the metaverse. All of this is parasites, you guys, all of it. So let me get to Nick's page here because I want to show you what I created for Nick. You guys go to dianekazer.com/NVTV. That's Nick's page. I put this together for you guys today. Couple things. Many people are like, I want to ask you more questions, Diane, because I have more questions than answers. I got you. Because what we're doing here is we're undoing what hasn't worked for us for 100 years. It's been a 100-year Rockefeller, Orwellian deep state plan. We are almost at the 100-year Agenda 2030 confusion year. We can undo this. We can come together. And what do you do instead? I got you. A lot of you have come to me from Nick and have joined us in the I call it my mastermind group, the VIP tribe. Join for $1, you guys. Just get in there. It's $1 for $7. Ask me questions. Most people come in there and go, whoa, I'm blown away. Now I have answers because you have a lot of questions, right? So join for $1. If you're not your own doctor, you're a fool, says Hippocrates. So the more we keep going to the doctor, hey, please, I got cancer. No, they're not curing you of cancer. They're radiating the crap out of your body. And that's how you die faster. People, oh, no, I got cured. But anyway, slippery slope. Cancer is caused by parasites. Cancer is caused by toxins. Let's undo it all. We have protocols for you guys. There's 2 things I wrote for you here today. You can learn more about dentistry by clicking on this informed consent you deserve about biological dentistry and dental anesthetics, because these implants now they have microchips and this is how they're tracking people, right? This is how they're following people. How do we get these things out? Detox. We talked before in this last episode with Angelique about non-toxic beauty school. Those are all in there for you guys. The Warrior Cleanse this month, what we're doing, it's the month of April for the eclipse because people are living in fear right now. They're living in confusion. We're not sure what's going to happen. Is CERN going to get reactivated on 4/8? So we are told, who knows? There's a lot of confusion, but let's focus on what you guys can control. And that is detoxing. It's not just products that help you detox. It's not just devices. It's a lifestyle. It's about the fish that you choose to eat. It's about the food. It's about where you're getting your food, where you're sourcing your food, where are you growing your food. The more we can get back to nature that is free from these atrazine, herbicides, Roundup contaminants, the better you're going to feel. I promise you that. There are miracles happening every day. Somebody came to our group from an episode like this, Nick. They had stage 3 cancer. They did my Warrior Cleanse by themselves and they got rid of cancer. Like what?
Crazy.
So,
yeah.
jump in here, you guys. We're doing 15% off supplements. We're doing 15% off courses. You get 25% off courses when you're in the VIP group. So if I were you, I would join the VIP group for $1. Get in there, join me, ask me questions, learn who we are. We're over 200 people coming together every week. And then you get the Warrior Cleanse for 25% off. And then you get the supplements for discount as well. You start getting rid of the parasites. A lot of people say, oh, well, just do a couple of these herbs. You're fine. Just do this. Your programs, your supplements are expensive. You guys, they're not. They're the highest quality. They're vegan. They're organic. Not just the supplements, but just learn the lifestyle. There are hundreds of things that you can do to get rid of these things.
Absolutely. No, I will be leaving the link below so that everyone can have a look. I really think that you should be getting on board with these. The link will be right below in the description. Because this is the education that we need from our government, not telling us that they're going to make Easter Day transgender of visibility or whatever you want to call it. This is a mockery. This is depopulation, and we need to take, control and power back. And we also need to look into these cleanses for our own children, because our children are the future of our generations and for the world. But Dr. Diane Kazer, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you too.